That's great. So how? Sorry, I'm George. I'm from a blogging page called Geeks That Don't Want to Grow Up. Okay. So are you excited for tomorrow for the event?
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's an event like this. I do a lot of autograph signings over the years.
Yeah.
But like sometimes if you go to
check out the app. Raffle, tough guy.
Bit of noise.
Yeah, dressing much can't take him
He's
anywhere.
usually quite quiet, isn't he?
I do autograph signings where I might have like a 2-hour time or a 3-hour time, and there's a big long line, and so it's rush.
Yeah.
But this is more of a casual thing where you have more time to interact with the fans.
That's good. That's what you want.
And I love interacting with the fans because you get a chance to listen to them, hear what they like and what they don't like, and it gives you some good insight.
Yeah.
But just to interact with the fans, I mean, I've always thought that wrestling fans were unique in that they're so loyal, extremely loyal, and so yeah. And not only that, but to do an event like this, the people that are here with me, this is like a gathering of a bunch of old guys.
Absolutely. Watching
the crew here. I mean, it's like, here's one of the things I hear fans say a lot. The guys that were with the WWE in the mid-'80s to mid-'90s, they say, you guys were the cream of the crop. You were the golden age of wrestling. I hear that all the time. Well, that's what this collection is, pretty much.
Yeah.
And, minus maybe Hulk Hogan and a couple other guys. Randy Savage would have been nice if Randy could have been here. But to get together with these guys is rare that we all get together. And so, that's part of the fun, too, is to
absolutely.
It's like home week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the work he's did together for years and rivalries and working together. Especially so I was going to talk about the stuff he did with Hogan, but also with Virgil as well.
Yeah.
So what's your fondest or your memory that stands out most with Virgil, with your relationship with him?
Gosh, Virgil's a unique character. We've had our ups and downs because Virgil's done some. You've seen Lonely Virgil.
Okay.
Because he apparently had set up somewhere. He was set up. And just
Yeah.
And so there was, and I don't know. He did some things that I had to. I call it a come to Jesus meeting with him about.
Okay.
So, but we've worked through all of that. And basically he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of business wise, I think the most fun we had was when I got to actually wrestle with him. When we did a little bit because that was planned from day one.
Yeah.
From day one, Vince said, at some point, even Virgil will get tired of taking your shit, and turn on you. And so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Okay. And obviously you've tag team with quite a few, and you've worked with quite a few. So out of the modern day bunch of wrestlers, out of the modern day bunch of wrestlers in WWE, or even the independent wrestlers, who would you like to tag team with now if you could?
Oh gosh, I tell you, now my old tag team partner, IRS, one of my favorite characters in the last 10 years was his son, Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Because I thought he did it so well. I thought he was, that's the whole thing with me. Is the more real you come across, the better. I have a lot of fans come up and they'll get autographs now and they'll say, please don't be offended, Mr. DiBiase, but I hated your guts. And I just laugh and I go, thank you.
That's exactly.
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
You were supposed to hate me.
Yeah.
And the more I could make you believe that I was that guy, the better it was.
Yeah.
And so I think Bray Wyatt, did a great job.
What do you think of his new gimmick now? It's with the children's. It's like a children's.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's different.
And so you can do real good by not asking me a lot of questions about the new generation wrestling, because
I was going to actually just be just really quickly about your son as well. So, what about your son wrestling with WWE as well?
Yeah.
Was that a proud moment when?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, the one thing as a father, I didn't want my sons being wrestlers. Not because I didn't love wrestling or have loved what I did, but the lifestyle that comes along with it. Now, the one thing I'll say, pretty much that has changed is that. And that's where I would tip my hat to the WWE. There are policies in place now, accountability policies, drug testing, all of that thing. Plus, when we first started this thing with Vince, I mean, we were out 21 days out of every month. I mean, we'd go on the road 3 straight weeks, 21 days, 21 cities, and then we'd go home for a week, and then we'd do it again.
Yeah.
And before I got there, some of the guys said it was even worse than that. Now, basically, they work 4 days a week and they're off 3 days every week. Now, that's not everybody. I mean,
of course, yeah.
The stars, the big names, they're going to be doing a little more work. But by and large, it's a better atmosphere that way.
Yeah.
But back then, but the bottom line, if you're a star in this business, it's consuming.
Yeah.
It's going to take a great deal of your time. And I said, I said to my son, it becomes your wife.
Yeah.
And I said, so if you have a wife and you have children, and I said, my boys know my story. I've told my story everywhere. I mean, I got caught up in all of it. I was running around. I mean, we became like rock stars.
Yeah,
we acted like rock stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we did all the things that rock stars do. And it very nearly cost me my marriage. By the grace of God, I'm still here. I'm still married. I'm healthier than I've ever been. But there was a price to pay for that. So I didn't want it. But in terms of what my son did, if he'd have chose to keep going, he very well. I mean, in one of the stockholder meetings,
hey folks, I'm
I was
WWE
told
Hall
that
of Famer
Stephanie
Hacksaw
McMahon
Jim Duggan. And I'm
told
here
the
in
stockholders
Liverpool
that
for the
Timmy
love of
DiBiase
wrestling.
Jr. may be the
Tough
guy who replaces John Cena.
Right. Okay.
I mean, so they had that much confidence in him. But when his contract came up, he didn't re-sign with them. And he called me and he said, "You know what, Dad?" He said, "You were right." He said, "I love it." He said, "But," he said, "it's not fair to my wife and my son." So it was his choice.
Yeah.
And he's doing very well now. He does what they call leadership training. You've heard of John Maxwell?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, he's certified under John Maxwell, as am I. I don't really do a lot of leadership training. I'm more of a preacher.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what he's doing now, and I'm very happy. I thought though, there's a father-son teams are very rare.
Yeah.
And so, like I told Teddy, I said, I've got an invitation to come back in July for the London Comic-Con, and I thought I'm going to talk to them and see if they might be interested in me bringing you along.
That'd be fantastic.
Because that would be for the fans, that would be another unique opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not very often you get the second generation, third generation.
The one thing he has over his dad was he's the one that was a star in a movie.
yeah. Sure.
Now, I was in a movie, but I flashed across the screen so fast you probably wouldn't have missed me. Sylvester Stallone, after the first Rocky, he did a movie called Paradise Alley that was about wrestling.
Right, okay, yeah.
And Terry Funk was in that, and there was a few other people, but I was one of those. I was very young, anyway, you'd blink and miss me.
Is that something you might have wanted to do then, like the way Hogan did it, the way Piper did it, and just maybe something you might have wanted to get into films? Or?
Yeah, no, I mean, if If I was younger, yeah, maybe, but not now. No.
That's fair enough.
I mean, those guys work really hard too. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Rock. I mean, he's probably one of the hardest working guys. His work ethic is extremely.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts in all the hours on the set, plus he maintains his body, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of time for Rock.
Yeah. Okay. So, we've just obviously covered about rivalry a bit with Virgil and everything else. When you were in WCW and with the NWO and stuff, was that a really good time for you? And
well, yes and no. I mean, the whole NWO thing was a great concept, a great idea, something that was new and fresh. And of course, anytime you have something new and fresh in wrestling, it's good. My character was new and fresh. I mean, Vince told me, he says, nobody's ever done this before, and so it was a unique thing. No knock on Eric, but the network, the Ted Turner network, were clueless. I mean, and you really couldn't blame them and that was the whole issue. The whole issue between Ted Turner and Vince went back because originally Vince was going to put his program on TBS.
All right. Okay.
Well, Turner didn't want Vince's program. He wanted his own program.
Right.
And Vince kept saying, "No, you don't need your own program. I've got the program." Vince grew up, and it was, he was like the third generation of promoters in his family, and he knew wrestling. Ted Turner didn't know anything about wrestling.
I think that's common.
And so a lot of the people that were, those 3 years that I was there were very frustrating.
Yeah.
Plus, Eric did as good a job as he could do. But again, Eric was never, the unique thing about Vince is the characters that he created. Now, you look at, like, oh my gosh, Randy Savage, Duggan, Dean, Hulk. We had a farmer, Hillbilly Jim. All these different characters. And then as those characters started leaving, being basically bought by Ted Turner, everybody's got a price. And as they jumped over there, well, those were established characters. Vince created new characters.
Yeah.
He simply created new characters to replace the characters that had left, and he knew how. So I tip my hat there. They call it the wrestling wars, and they were. But in terms of where I was there, it was kind of an odd time in my life because here I was this heel character that everybody loved to hate on television. Yet, after going to WCW, I was no longer wrestling, and I was being a manager was okay, but it wasn't what I loved to do. It was because of the injuries, what I could do. And at the same time that I was appearing on television as this heel character, I was also appearing on Christian networks, sharing my story.
Right.
And that's when I told Eric, I said, you might think about turning into babyface. That's because people that are watching, they're watching TV and all the Christian networks, they're finding out that I'm a preacher.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it kind of kills it, it's kind of like, even though everybody knows it's a show, it's kind of like, that's like if you went to a wrestling show and the two guys in the main event, and you saw them, get out of the same car and walk in the building together, it just kills it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was that. so that those 3 years they were kind of frustrating for me. That was the last 3 years I was in wrestling.
I'm sorry to hear that. So, we've said before about who would you like to work, like, well, maybe not manage now, you're saying about managing, but tag team with and stuff now, who would you like to...
Well, tag team's number one. It wasn't my big thing. My big thing was the single. I wasn't,
Who would you like to wrestle with now?
I was a tag team with IRS, and that was a good team. And in the WWE, that's really the only team that I was in terms of a tag team wrestler. Now, prior to that, I had a great, right before I went to the WWF, I had this great deal come up with Stan Hansen, in Japan. I went over to Japan, and, Bruiser Brody and Stan had been partners. Brody left All Japan, went to the new company, New Japan, which was pretty much unheard of. And so Stan needed a new partner. So for a while, I filled the bill until I got the offer to go to the WWF. But now in the WWF, people ask me, what was your favorite WrestleMania match? And I said, I had a good match with Savage at WrestleMania 4. And that's the first time he and I ever had wrestled.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chemistry there as well. It's really good chemistry. Yeah.
We came from the same school of thought, the same background. But my favorite match at WrestleMania was WrestleMania 6 with Jake.
Okay.
Yeah, Jake Roberts. Yeah. It was just a real good match.
Fantastic.
And one of my other favorite matches was with Bret Hart. Bret and I had 2 or 3 really good matches, but we never had the opportunity to work what we call a program. Like when I went all over the place wrestling Hogan.
Yeah.
Teamed up with. I was teamed up with Andre for a while too.
Yeah.
So, and that was
good.
That was great.
Excellent.
I mean, it's kind of like who's your favorite opponent? I go, Hulk Hogan. I said, why? I said, I made the most money I ever made in my life wrestling him. In terms of and Hogan, I think sometimes Hulk, I hear a lot of guys, well, Hulk really wasn't a great wrestler. I said, yeah, he was. Here's the thing. Like, how do you grade a wrestler? You grade him on by, it's like, because I'm often referred to as a great technical wrestler. Holes and Bret Hart the same. Hulk knew his gimmick.
Yes.
Hulk did his gimmick the way his gimmick should be done. In other words, for example, remember Big Show? Big Show came along. Big Show was like the new giant. And I saw him throw a drop kick one night. And when he came back, I said, what are you doing? He said, what are you talking about? I said, what are you doing throwing drop kicks? I said, you just want to try to impress all these people that a guy your size can throw a drop kick? I said, a guy your size should never leave his feet.
It's true.
I mean, it should take them, 15 minutes to beat you down to the ground. Anyway, so
that's a good point.
It's all about psychology.
Yeah. Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I'm just be really cheeky. Am I okay to